5 Lincoln 103, 5 Lincoln 102, Lincoln 103 and 102.
Responding to 401 parking structure, section 1 boy.
Henry 8, Henry 9. Respond to gate 437 Bravo for your dignitary detail. 3K 911 unattended 400 lower level near carousel 4 black bag. GTA in progress 401 parking structure section 4 boy.
Responding to 401 parking structure, section 1 boy.
415 passenger onboard aircraft.
Control 2 Franklin en route.
484 suspect is female, Hispanic, 28 years of age, blue jeans, no further.
Control 5 Frank 401 is en route.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio for this Friday morning, March the 29th of 2019. Another month in the books already. Believe it or not, spring has sprung. The time has moved forward, and we are moving forward now into the spring season. Already temperatures in some areas rising as high as 86 degrees, and in our neck of the woods here in North Carolina, we're expecting 75 over the next couple of days. It's going to be a nice, warm, sunny weekend. We hope that when you're out there working in the heat, and remember, it doesn't have to be 100 degrees to be overheated. Remember to keep hydrated, make sure that you stay out of that hot sun. If you can get some shade, get inside the vehicle, get inside a building, get some AC, because it does not take much for you to get overheated, overcome by the temperatures, and be ill, really fall down on the job. We don't want that to happen. I know it's early into the year. I know it's early. It's not summer yet, but it can happen quicker than you think. So be conscious about that. Keep water nearby and stay cool. We've got a lot happening here at Private Officer International, just like we always do. And, recently I had somebody email us and ask about why is it that we have so much happening? Why are we offering so much to everyone, members and non-members? We do offer quite a bit of free training, free opportunities, just a lot of stuff happening for those who want to get involved, and that's the key, want to get involved. I know that we're all busy. We have families and jobs, and some of us have multiple jobs and different things that we're involved in, church and other activities. But if you want to be involved here in the security industry, law enforcement or public safety, we are the go-to frontline resource. We're the voice of the American first responders, private security. So we do offer a lot of things to keep people engaged, and we don't charge for these things. We also have a lot of free training on the web. Right now we have several seminars that we're doing. We have several free events that are scheduled. Again, if you're signed up for the Private Officer News Alerts, then you know all about what's happening. If you're not, you can go to our website at privateofficer.org. Sign up for those free news alerts, our newsletters, our breaking news, and our Officer Down reports. Privateofficer.org. Coming up just in the next few days, we have handcuffing class. We have a personal and business safety workshop coming up. We have a course that we're doing for a hospital coming up on restraints, and so much more. And if you are with a business, a church, a security company, or a school, and you need any type of officer training from first aid and CPR all the way up to defensive tactics and more, then go to armorcollege.org, our sister company, public safety trade school, and they'll be able to schedule. They'll come out to wherever you are. It doesn't matter if you're in Timbuktu or 3. They're going to be able to come out and help you. We have a great cadre of instructors and management personnel, and we definitely have a very unique system because we're all practical, hands-on. You get engaged, you get involved. If your church is looking for church security training, that's an area that we really specialize in. Give us a call, 804-290-4388. I don't know if you've noticed on Facebook, social media, or received our emails, but this is our annual Uniform Officer and Patrol Vehicle Contest. Now, we've run this in years past very successfully, and again, this year, we are looking for the best dressed, whether you are a campus officer, a private police officer, a security officer. You got to send in at least 2 pictures of you in dress, in full uniform, to Stephanie K. at privateofficer.com. Stephanie K. at privateofficer.com, or email helpdesk@privateofficer.com for more information. Now, we're also looking for the best-looking patrol vehicle, whether it's a school, campus, private police, hospital, or security agency. Send it in, and we're looking for the top 2. For the first place prize, you're going to get a $250 gift bag, including some free training. For second place, we're going to give you a $100 gift bag and some free training. Send those pictures in. Include your information, your email, your contact phone number to Stephanie K. at privateofficer.com. Like I said, we've always got a whole bunch of stuff happening. In fact, coming up in a couple of weeks, we've got our annual Officer Award Program, Officer Appreciation, coming up later in April. Be sure to submit yourself, your coworker, your employee, or even your employer. That announcement will be coming out within the next week so that you can be involved in that as well. But don't forget, in the meantime, to send us those photos of yourself, your coworker, or others' best place uniform, best patrol car contest. Send them to Stephanie K. at privateofficer.com. All right, like I said, lots of happening, got a lot of stuff happening here, huh? We are in 2 weeks, April the 9th, we are going to be giving our State of the Association speech. We're going to be letting folks know what's happening here at POI as we continue to really expand and grow, and you won't want to miss that. Coming up April the 9th, 2019, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be sending out an email, I'm sure, about that. So if you missed this information, well, you'll get it again coming up here probably in the next couple of days. We've had some questions recently about our chapters, and we've have been discussing here within the management team and our members about what to do with chapters. More and more organizations that have regional and local chapters have closed them down or have combined them because of a lack of participation. And here at POI, we're no different. We're having a lack of participation. Everybody's busy now. Everybody's got families and 2 or 3 jobs and, other commitments, and we get it. We understand. But if you want to chime in on chapters and whether or not we should have them or how we should run them, send that information to helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We're going to be talking more about this in the upcoming weeks as we decide how to maybe reconfigure, redesign these so that more people can be involved. Maybe they'll just be occasionally online. We're not really sure, but we are looking into this. We have just a lot of different things that we are able and want to offer to our members and non-members, but again, you got to want that information. You've got to want that training. You have to want to be involved, and you have to find time to do it. Most people who really want something will find a way to get it. They'll find a way to be involved. If you really want to go to church on Sunday morning, you're going to find a way to get there. You might have to reschedule your day, your job. You might have to find transportation. But if you really want something, most people, well, they know how to get it. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some openings that we have. We have a number of companies, and we really want you to get involved and to be able to take this as an opportunity to advance yourself. So one of the things that I'm very proud of is being able to offer people jobs and careers, not just a job. When we come back, we'll be talking about that and a whole lot more here on the Private Officer Radio.
No pigtails anymore.
Check, please.
David, you okay to drive?
Yeah, I only had a couple drinks. I'm fine.
Come on.
Keys can be a weapon. A few drinks can make you a killer.
For some children, America isn't the land of promise. It's a place where every day is a struggle. Because today in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. For these children, living in poverty means going without medicine, going without food, going without a warm home, or even a roof over your head. And that's life for nearly 13 million children of all races, all across America. Where will you draw the line and get involved? You can help these children and their families find a way out of poverty for good. And you can make a difference in more ways than you think. Will you help? Go to povertyusa.org today. Because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too many. A message from the...
Welcome back. We were talking just before we went to the break about different positions. Right now we have quite a few positions. We're looking for security instructors, DCJS qualified in Virginia, in Northern and Central Virginia. We're also looking for SLED, security armed instructors in South Carolina, and PPS, North Carolina, security instructors for Raleigh, Durham, and the Metro Charlotte area. Send your resume for those to Carrie, C-A-R-R-I-E, at Armour College, A-R-M-O-U-R College.org, and include your resume and all of your credentials, diplomas, certificates, so on and so forth. Starting wages are between $18 and $22 an hour based on your experience, and we have a lot of great benefits and things that we offer, so be sure to send those over. We're also looking for lifeguard instructors in Virginia and North Carolina. If you are a American Red Cross lifeguard instructor, again, send your information to that same email address. We also have positions opening for community service officers and traffic collision investigators. Tennessee, Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Virginia. Go to publicsafetyservices.org, publicsafetyservices.org, and click on the jobs link. Check those positions out and send your resume today. These are professional positions with, it's a career opportunity, great wages and benefits, and you really don't want to miss out. On the POI side, we're looking for regional directors to act as liaison, recruitment assistants, to participate in officer assistance programs when officers are injured in your area, maybe attend a funeral when an officer is killed in the line of duty. Send your information to helpdesk@privateofficer.com, help helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We have a lot of positions. We're a growing company, and we want to make sure that you get involved and have that opportunity. So be sure to participate. Send us your resume today, and we will schedule an interview. You know, I read something just yesterday that I thought was very interesting. OSHA now recommends that all security officers have body armor. This came out from OSHA. It said that they recommend, they're not ordering, they're not demanding, but they are now recommending that security companies issue all security officers body armor. They didn't say some. They didn't say just the ones in the high crime area. They didn't say the ones just carrying guns. They said all security officers. So I thought that was very unique. They did not go into a lot of details other than they were talking about several recent shootings that had occurred where security officers were killed. We have communicated with OSHA in the past and work with them, whenever there's a situation or an issue. I'm not really sure if maybe they had some other company or interest notification about the number of deaths and injuries. I know that OSHA does follow our statistics and has contacted us, and we'll see what happens. Like I said, this is not an order. It's not a demand. This is informational. They recommend that all security officers wear body armor. Very interesting. We're probably going to have to contact them coming up in the next few days or next week because we want to get their position on this as well. A lot of things are happening. In this industry. More security officers are being injured, shot, killed. Unfortunately, the media is not really on top of it all the time. Local media may or may not even carry the news item. Sometimes we are seeing more national news associations, organizations are noting the deaths, and especially when multiple people are involved. The trials recently of an armored car security officer murder in Louisiana was carried on national news. A father and son was sentenced to prison there on that situation, and I've been interviewed just recently by the media for security officer situations and even unlicensed security officer incidents happening in a number of states. So they are taking notice. It's just still a little bit slow. If you see any security officer injured, shot, killed, or any other news item in your area, please send them to helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We're going to start giving away a free Yeti mug as well as POI gear to those who send in the best news alert, news item every month. So be sure to send those in, and you'll get recognized for that. What else do we have coming up on this beautiful Friday morning? Sun is shining, birds are chirping as we're sitting here not drinking coffee, but drinking V8, a healthier alternative. We're going to follow it up with Starbucks here in a few moments, I'm sure. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, a lot of news to talk about. I'm telling you, the news comes in 24/7, and we monitor more than 2,000 news sources so that we can bring you the latest news. Don't go away. We're coming right back here on the Private Officer Beat Radio. We do want to...
Every 40 seconds, someone around the world takes their own life. Every 13 minutes, someone in the U.S. commits suicide. While you were getting ready for work this morning, in the first hour of your day, as many as 5 people in the U.S. have killed themselves. By lunchtime, about 20 people in the U.S. have taken their own life. At the end of an 8-hour workday, about 40 people in the U.S. killed themselves. In a 24-hour period, as many as 111 people in the U.S. committed suicide.
Dave jumped over here to the news desk this morning for this Friday morning. A lot of news coming in. Tragedy, sad news coming out of Illinois, where State Trooper Brooke Jones Story, a 12-year veteran of the Illinois State Police, has been struck and killed during a traffic stop. An 18-wheeler went off the road, striking her patrol vehicle, and another 18-wheeler that Trooper Story had stopped for a traffic violation. It's a very sad event. This trooper is survived by her husband and other family members. The Illinois State Police will be announcing funeral arrangements later in the weekend. Coming out of Rochester, New York, just in the last year or so, they began adding armed security to the University of Rochester, and peace officers who have full arrest authority on campus property. They say they need more officers, and they are looking at expanding the number of officers patrolling the university as well as the medical center grounds. And evidently, crime is up, as it is in many areas of our country, and they want to be well prepared. Coming out of Herkimer, New York, a former campground security guard accused of raping someone there in the campground has been sentenced to 18 years in prison after being found guilty of that rape in 2016. Evidently, the security guard employed by Old Forge Camp Resort was nabbed after a rape situation. The 44-year-old will spend at least 12 years in prison, and he probably should have gotten more. In Williamsburg, Virginia, the Williamsburg-James City County Schools also are going to be adding more security. The school system already uses both unarmed DCJS certified security officers as well as armed school resource officers, but they also are looking to add about a dozen more officers, unarmed DCJS certified officers. And so if you live in the Virginia area, the Williamsburg area, beautiful location, you might want to apply. Coming out of Inglewood, California yesterday, this was no shock. Attacks at churches are on the rise. 2 Inglewood police officers were shot when they responded to a man with a sword at the Church of Scientology in Inglewood. Now, police are not sure exactly how the officers were shot, but they also shot and killed the man armed with a sword. This incident happened on Wednesday at about 3:30 in the afternoon. The man entered the church wearing a hoodie and began threatening several people. One officer was shot in the hand, the other in the forearm. And this may be friendly fire. This may have been somebody else that was there. They're not releasing the full details other than the person armed with the sword was shot to death by police. At the O'Hare International Airport, this is in Chicago, Illinois, of course, a naked man decided to take a stroll across the tarmac there at O'Hare. The man, according to police, took off all of his clothes and went out onto the tarmac and took a stroll. Chicago police are not saying exactly how he made his way across the tarmac, how he got through that restricted area. They do say, however, that he was having a mental health crisis near the Terminal 1 area. Several videos have been posted on social media and have made the rounds on the internet. They're not identifying the person, but he was taken by ambulance to a local hospital. Coming out of Honolulu, Hawaii, this happened on Thursday. Police there say that several suspects robbed the Wet n Wild, I believe that's a nightclub facility, and they held the guard at bay while they carried out the robbery, including stealing an ATM. No injuries are reported, and the investigation is still underway. Now, in Springfield, Massachusetts, pretty in-depth report coming to us this week about 14 Springfield police officers, all charged in connection to an assault at a bar earlier. Most of the officers arrested for perjury or interfering with federal agencies and also misleading law enforcement, filing false reports, all of this involving a cover-up after a man was assaulted by police. More details will be forthcoming. All defendants will be arraigned and will appear at the Worcester Superior Court at later dates. In Dover, Delaware, the Wesley College, this is a Christian college there in Dover, they have decided to better protect their students and their staff. They announced just this week that they are adding not only security, but they are adding sworn law enforcement in the form of constables. Now, constables in Delaware are sworn law enforcement officers. They have to go through a constable academy, and they will be able to make arrests, issue citations, and keep the peace there at the college campus. This is something new for them, but not really new in the higher educational, or even the high school level. We're seeing more and more armed security being added all the time. Pasco, Washington, on Tuesday, a man who had been charged earlier with the murder of a security officer was found guilty and has been sentenced to prison for the murder of security officer Frolin Godness. This happened back in February of 2010 when he stabbed the security officer at a nightclub in Pasco, Washington. He pled guilty and now has been sentenced to 18 years in prison on a reduced charge of manslaughter. Coming this week also out of Indianapolis, a security officer was attacked during an armed shooting at a liquor store. Evidently, the suspect tried to steal some liquor. The security officer confronted him, and the man pulled a weapon and shot the security officer. The security officer fired back. The security officer was shot and taken to the hospital. Police are uncertain if the man was hit, but he did escape, and police are looking for him. In San Diego, California, at a Navy base, a Marine was shot and killed while on guard duty at Camp Pendleton. Authorities there saying Lance Corporal Riley Schultz was discovered about 4 o'clock in the morning with a gunshot wound to the head. Now, at first, it looked kind of like a suicide. Now officials are saying that this is more a homicide, and that investigation is still underway. In Albany, New York, a correction officer who'd been on the job for 20 years at the Albany County Jail has been arrested for raping an inmate. Authorities there say that Michael Snyder has been released on a $25,000 bond after being charged with third-degree rape, sexual abuse, and official misconduct charges. He has already gone to court and pled not guilty, and he'll be having a jury trial in the near future. He worked there for 19 and a half years, and according to authorities, has had very little other problems, and this is something unusual. In East Rock Hill, Pennsylvania, another school district is adding armed private school police officers. Here at the Penridge School District in Pennsylvania, they're adding armed special police. Again, in Pennsylvania, they also allow for private security / special police. They also have to go through a specific type of training, and after that, they will be assigned to the Penridge School District. A police chief fired in Baldwin Park, California, was awarded this week $7 million. Former Baldwin Park police chief Lily Heitzel spent 40 years in law enforcement and was fired unjustly, she said, because of discrimination and her age. She's 63. The court agreed, and they awarded her $7 million. In Guam this week, Michael Rice, a security officer for the Guam Home Center, fell from a 400-foot cliff, killing himself. Authorities believe that this was an accident. He was on duty. They're not sure what he was doing near the cliff. It's a very large drop-off. That investigation is also underway. Oceanside, California security officer made an arrest of 2 school burglars. He responded to an alarm activation at a elementary school at around 2:10 a.m. and found 2 persons inside. Additional police units were called to back him up, and they took the 2 suspects in custody. Just in the last week, Richmond, Virginia, Homeland Security did a security audit of the county, city, courthouse, and they say it didn't pass. There were a lot of problems being able to get into the courthouse, getting into the judges' chambers and other restricted areas. Homeland Security said enter at your own risk, and they've advised the courthouse how to tighten their security. A lot of news coming across the news desk every single day. If you want to find out more about what's happening, go to privateofficer.org. Sign up right now for breaking news alerts, newsletters, and officer down reports. Now, if you do sign up, let me tell you, you're not going to get mail every day, but you will receive mail 3 or 4 times a week. It's a news product. If you don't want to receive those emails that frequently, you can note that when you sign up what type of emails you want. All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of the news. We've got a whole lot more to talk about when we come back from this break. Don't go away. We're coming right back here on the Private Officer Beat Radio.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe. And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back to this Friday edition of the Private Officer Radio. I'm your host, Rick McCann, founder and CEO of Private Officer. Today we want to do a little revision. We want to do a little retake on a training that we did several years ago. But again, this is something that, this topic is something that is prevalent in the news and on social media and the internet. So we want to talk a little bit about First Amendment audits and when people legally can photograph and video you or your employer, the property, the surroundings, or other people. Because the First Amendment, very powerful part of our Constitution, allows people almost always, with very few exceptions, to have the right to take pictures or video or freedom of speech. And the courts have upheld this time and time again. You've seen many videos, I'm sure, if you go to YouTube and you're a regular subscriber or visitor, you see many First Amendment audits where people, they're trying to see if they can get a rise out of you. They're trying to see if they can get an officer to do something that they're not supposed to. And, part of it really is just so that they can come back and sue you. So let's do a quick review of what is legal and what is not legal. Just in recent months, here are the court decisions and settlements and lawsuits. Maryland University paid out $45,000 because somebody was videotaping on campus. San Diego police, $160,000 for a First Amendment auditor who was arrested for filming in public. Colorado Springs police settled for $41,000 just this month. Dallas, Little Rock also settled $112,000 and $106,000. A security company in Denver last year settled for $14,000 because of a security officer not allowing someone to videotape a property. Other settlements and other court cases are all across the news headlines these days because people are being arrested or challenged for taking video or pictures, and there are groups of these individuals who have nothing else to do but to go into police stations and colleges and hospitals and businesses to see what's going to happen. Really, they want to see whether or not the local law enforcement officer or security officer understands the First Amendment and understands what people can and cannot do. And this has been a sore spot with many companies because their hands are tied in many cases. And because of a lack of training, security officers find themselves as the hit star on a video on YouTube acting like somebody who is uneducated and unprofessional, and unfortunately in many cases they are. So let's review. There are very few exceptions to the rule. Believe me when I tell you this, that as a security or law enforcement officer, there are very few times that you're going to be able to interfere with somebody filming or taking photos. Here are the rules as they stand from the court. If a person is standing on public property, let's say the sidewalk, the roadway, if they're someplace not on your property, even if they're at the end of the driveway, even if they're at the gate, then they have a right to video anything within plain view. Anything that they can see, they can record. It doesn't matter if it's on your property or not. As long as they are taking pictures from public space, as long as they are videotaping from public land, public sidewalks, they have a right to. Now, they can even be next door on another business property, and unless that business prohibits them from trespassing, then they have a right to be there. You, as the security officer, public safety officer, law enforcement officer, you have no right to interfere, impede, or to try to, arrest them or to confiscate their cameras, which we see all the time. It's illegal. You can't trump up some charge of disorderly conduct or trespassing if they are well within their rights to record. If they are standing on the roof of another business, that's their legal right as long as that business doesn't prohibit the trespassing. As long as that business hasn't said anything, you have no legal authority or right on the business next door. In many areas, police officers find themselves in court, or their department does, or the stars on YouTube videos because they don't know the law. The person has the legal right to photograph or videotape anything that he can see from a public space. He has the right to walk into a courthouse as long as he passes through security, as long as he complies with the law, and they allow cameras or phones. He has a legal right to be there. If he enters a police department and he takes pictures of the lobby area and people coming in and out of that building, officers, if he takes pictures of patrol cars, if he takes pictures of offices within the police department, any place where the public has access, then that's lawful. There's nothing illegal and nothing that can be done about it. And I know it ticks people off. It gets them upset. You know, when you have little that you can do to stop something, It can be very frustrating at times, and I agree. But the law is the law, and it has to be applied evenly and according to the Constitution. So where are they not allowed to take their videos and their pictures? Well, first of all, the courts have already ruled that they're not allowed to trespass. If they come onto your land, if they trespass on your land and you ask them to leave and they don't, well, now you have a criminal trespass. Now we do have a crime in progress and a crime that we can detain or arrest for. But again, don't get foolish and don't be trapped into their little scheme to make you violate the law or assault them. I've seen too many security people and even law enforcement who slap away the camera. You can't do that. That is an assault. If they're on private property and they've been asked to leave, then they are, breaking the law, and they're not allowed to be filming from that area. Even a military base, even a high security building, even places in the Metro D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area that are very highly secured, you can't stop them from filming the building. You can't stop them from filming who's coming in and out as long as they're outside of your private property, as long as they are not impeding traffic, as long as they are not causing a disturbance, as long as they are not harassing anyone, and they're on public space, public sidewalks, you have nothing that you can do. Here are some places where they cannot film or take photos. Obviously in the restroom. It doesn't matter if they have authorization to be there or not. A shopping mall, a hospital, a business, a school, a campus. They can't take pictures in the bathroom because that's a place where people expect, privacy. They cannot take pictures in or around dressing rooms, changing rooms of any facility, a department store, or a health care facility, or a gymnasium, or any place that people have an expectation of privacy. They cannot take pictures in and around hospitals. Most hospitals have policies against it. It's kind of a HIPAA thing where they want to protect people's identity from being there. And so in that situation, they do have a right to ask you to leave the hospital if you are taking photos. You cannot take photos any place where you're not authorized to be. If you go to a hospital and you come through the ER, you can't be on the 14th floor or the 10th floor or the 2nd floor, for that matter, taking pictures of things where you're not supposed to be. Same thing for a school, a business, or any public space. You can't be in an unauthorized area of the library taking photos or video. You cannot take video or photos in any place, public or private, where folks have an expectation of privacy. It's not legal, and it could be a criminal offense. You could be cited. You may even be trespassed. Things could happen. You could even have your camera or your photography equipment confiscated. Other than that, as long as you're not breaking the law, as long as you're not trespassing, as long as you're not filming in areas that there's an expectation of privacy, then it's legal. You could photograph your neighbor as long as it's within, your eyes, within plain view, as long as you're not peeping around through the slats in the fence or going over the back fence or through the bushes to get those pictures, it's legal. It may not be the best idea, and folks may not like it, but it's legal. As a private security, public safety, or law enforcement officer, be sure that you're not taking the bait. Be sure that you're not falling into the trap that they're setting for you. Don't raise your voice. Don't cuss at them. Don't get in a screaming match. Don't be authoritative when you have no legal grounds to be so. Don't threaten them with arrest when you know they can't be arrested. And if you don't know, call somebody who does. If there's somebody who is out just to find out how quick they can raise your temperature, just how quick they can get you to jump at their test and do something wrong, you know, you might want to back off. Observe them as long as they're not trespassing, as long as they're not breaking the law, as long as they're not impeding traffic, as long as they're not being disorderly. Videotape them. Turn the camera the other way. But you have to be very careful as to what you do, because they will sue you. They will sue your employer. You'll lose your job, and your employer will settle for, you know, $5,000 or $10,000, and that's what these people are looking for. What about filming the police? If you're a sworn law enforcement officer, when can people tape you? When can they videotape you? Again, all these same rules apply as long as they're on public land, public space, sidewalks, someplace where there's no expectation of privacy and they're not impeding or obstructing law enforcement. They have to be a reasonable space between them and the action. They have to be within an authorized area. They can't go under the yellow tape. They can't breach security if it's a secured zone. They can't violate or break the law to obtain their video or their photos. As long as they are obeying the law and they're not a safety hazard to the officer and they're not obstructing the officer, then, you know, pretty much as long as it's all out in public, they have a right to videotape law enforcement as well as private security. Well, that's going to do it for today. I hope that this was a good refresher for you. Please, please don't fall for these people with these First Amendment audits. Make sure that you know the Constitution. Make sure that you stay on top of the changes in the law. That's one of the things I really harp on with especially private officers. Make sure that you are on top of all of the changes that happen all the time in the law. Just because the statute was a statute doesn't mean it's still the statute or has the same legal terminology or definitions and that it hasn't changed. Be sure that you know those changes in the law. That's going to do it for today for this edition of the Private Officer Beat. We hope that you've enjoyed this show. Be sure to sign up for our breaking news at privateofficer.org and become a member today if you're not, because there's a lot of member benefits, great training, and you get to listen to me and all of the great training and information that we give you. Have a safe one. Be safe, be blessed, and we'll see you back here on the radio. Until then, adios.